The phrase mindset, the control of Astaghfirullah, carries within it a deep ocean of meaning for the believer who seeks to align his heart, mind, and soul with the mercy and forgiveness of Allah. To understand this, one must realize that the human being is not only a physical creation, but also a spiritual entity, constantly tested by thoughts, desires, impulses, and whispers from Shaytan. The word Astaghfirullah, meaning I seek forgiveness from Allah, is not just a verbal utterance but a spiritual tool, a mindset reset, and a shield that helps a believer reorient his heart toward Allah whenever he slips, falls, or drifts into negligence. It is both a remembrance and a declaration of humility, admitting one's weakness and seeking the cleansing power of divine mercy. The mindset of Astaghfirullah is about self-control, discipline, and resilience in a world where distractions are endless, sins are beautified, and temptations are made to look appealing. Every day, the Muslim is confronted with decisions, whether to lower the gaze or let it wander, whether to speak words of kindness or engage in backbiting, whether to act with patience or surrender to anger. At each of these crossroads, the heart that is trained in Astaghfirullah pulls itself back with humility, reminding the self that Allah is watching, that sins bring darkness, and that forgiveness is the only way to keep the heart alive and the soul at peace. The Prophet Muhammad was the best example of this mindset. Though he was the purest of creation and free from sins, he would say Astaghfirullah over 70 times a day. This was not because of sins like ours, but because his closeness to Allah was so intense that even the smallest lapse in his otherwise perfect remembrance felt heavy. This teaches us that Astaghfirullah is not only for the sinner, but also for the righteous, not only for those who have erred, but also for those who strive to ascend higher in spiritual states. The control of Astaghfirullah is the ability to train the nafs ego to instantly acknowledge weakness and correct its course by turning back to Allah before the mistake grows into a habit and the habit grows into destruction. Astaghfirullah as a mindset transforms guilt into growth. Many people, when they sin, allow Shaytan to paralyze them with shame, convincing them that they are too dirty to return to Allah. But the one who truly understands the mindset of Astaghfirullah knows that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but the greatest sign of Allah's love. Allah says in the Quran, "Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins. Indeed, it is He who is the forgiving, the merciful." This verse is not an invitation to sin freely, but a reassurance that no matter how deep one has fallen, the door of forgiveness remains open as long as life remains. The mindset of Astaghfirullah means refusing to remain shackled in despair and instead using mistakes as lessons to build resilience, humility, and closeness to Allah. The human mind is a battlefield. Thoughts constantly rise and fall, many of them whispers from Shaytan, designed to pull us away from the remembrance of Allah. In such moments, saying Astaghfirullah becomes an act of control over the self. It interrupts the cycle of destructive thinking and shifts the focus back to Allah. For example, when a believer is tempted to look at something impermissible, the instant utterance of Astaghfirullah can act like a handbrake on the soul, pulling it back from the cliff of sin. When one falls into arrogance, pride, or anger, the word Astaghfirullah is a reminder that all greatness belongs to Allah and that the servant must remain humble. Thus, it becomes not only a plea for forgiveness, but a shield of self-awareness that trains the heart to respond to every slip with humility and correction. The control of Astaghfirullah is also about consistency. It is not enough to seek forgiveness once after a mistake. The Prophet taught that the believer's heart should be soaked in remembrance, turning to Allah constantly, before and after every action, whether in moments of joy or grief. The consistency of Astaghfirullah polishes the heart, much like polishing rust off a mirror. Without it, sins accumulate like dust until the heart becomes hardened, but with consistent seeking of forgiveness, the heart stays alive, soft, and receptive to the truth. It is this consistency that builds discipline, for discipline is not formed by grand gestures, but by small, repeated actions that become habits, and habits that shape destiny. The greatest leaders in Islam had this mindset of Astaghfirullah. Umar ibn al-Khattab R.A., known for his justice and strength, would weep in prayer at the thought of his accountability before Allah, seeking forgiveness constantly. Ali ibn Abi Talib R.A., renowned for his wisdom, would remind people that no matter how far they have gone, forgiveness is the key to a renewed life. They knew that the strength of leadership was not perfection, but humility before Allah. In our own lives, this lesson applies to leadership in families, communities, and even personal endeavors. True strength comes not from denying mistakes, but from acknowledging them quickly and using them to grow. Astaghfirullah also connects mindset with emotional resilience. Modern life is filled with anxiety, regret, and stress. Many people are burdened by guilt from past sins, shame over failures, or fear of the future. The act of saying Astaghfirullah releases these burdens, reminding the believer that Allah's mercy is greater than his worries. It provides the psychological relief of knowing that every mistake can be erased, every failure turned into an opportunity, and every weakness into a doorway to Allah's strength. Thus, it is not only a spiritual practice, but also a psychological healing mechanism that strengthens the believer's resilience against despair and hopelessness. The Quran reminds us that the nations who sought forgiveness were rewarded with not only spiritual cleansing, but also worldly blessings, and said, "Seek forgiveness of your Lord. Indeed, he is ever a perpetual forgiver. He will send rain from the sky upon you in continuing showers, and give you increase in wealth and children, and provide for you gardens, and provide for you rivers." Quran 71, 10-12. This shows that the mindset of Astaghfirullah brings barakah into life. It brings clarity in decision making, strength in times of trial, and blessings in sustenance. In business, family, health, and personal growth, those who consistently turn back to Allah with Astaghfirullah find doors opening for them in ways they could not have imagined. But this mindset requires sincerity. It is not about repeating words mechanically while the heart remains attached to sin. True Astaghfirullah involves remorse, intention to change, and effort to avoid falling again. It is about training the mindset to link every slip with immediate correction and every success with gratitude to Allah. In this way, the believer develops what can be called a success-driven mindset rooted in humility, resilience, and accountability. In our time, the control of Astaghfirullah is even more urgent. Social media, entertainment, and modern culture are filled with temptations that can distract the believer at every step. The ability to instantly pull back, to interrupt sin with the word Astaghfirullah, is a mark of spiritual maturity. It is what keeps the believer grounded in a world that constantly tries to uproot his faith. It is what allows him to lead his family with discipline, to pursue his goals with sincerity, and to resist the endless pull of desires. The mindset of Astaghfirullah is, therefore, not passive but deeply proactive. It is not only about reacting to sin after it happens, but about building such awareness of Allah that the very thought of sin becomes uncomfortable. It is about training the mind to remember Allah so often that when whispers come, the heart immediately seeks forgiveness before the action takes root. It is about turning every mistake into a stepping stone for growth, every slip into a lesson of resilience, and every success into a reminder of Allah's mercy. Ultimately, the control of Astaghfirullah is the control of one's life. For the believer, it is the greatest tool of self-discipline, humility, and growth. It prevents arrogance by reminding the self of its weaknesses, prevents despair by reminding it of Allah's mercy, and builds resilience by turning every failure into an opportunity for renewal. It is the secret mindset of those who achieve true success in dunya and akhirah, for they understand that the path to greatness is paved with humility, self-awareness, and constant turning back to Allah with the simple yet powerful words, Astaghfirullah.